president and vice president reflect the values of justice and peace. As we embark on this new chapter, we also seek your comfort, O God, for those who feel lost or disheartened. In this time of transition, may your light shine upon them, reaffirming their belief in a brighter tomorrow. May we all strive to lift one another, supporting our fellow citizens with kindness and empathy, recognizing that together we can overcome any adversity. Grant us the strength to endure, the courage to face our fears, and the clarity to see the light that remains, even when clouds of uncertainty may gather. Inspire our new leaders to be champions for the vulnerable and advocates for those whose voices are often silenced. May they pursue policies that promote the well-being of all, seeking to build bridges that will foster unity and belonging. As we stand witness to this inauguration, we hold fast to our faith in the goodness of each of us and the possibility of change. We trust that with your guidance, O God, our nation can move forward to a future filled with promise, prosperity, and understanding. And finally, we lift our hearts in gratitude for the beloved parents of President Trump. Without Mary and Fred Trump, this day would never be the miracle that has just begun. From their place in heaven, may they shield their son from all harm by their loving protection, and give him the strength to guide our nation along the path that will make America great again. Let us go forth now with these words of President Trump's emblazoned on our hearts. As long as we have pride in our beliefs, courage in our convictions, and faith in our God, then we will not fail. We stand tall, we stand proud, because we are Americans, and Americans kneel to God and to God alone. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for our national anthem. Can you say, oh, the dawn's early light, what a beauty we have at the twilight was beginning. Look at the sky bright stars, oh, the heavens bright. But rainbows were so good with me. And did again, everlasting weather, keep true to the light, that everlasting Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain at your seats while the President and official party depart the platform.
For years. Swearing in ceremony, leave the Capitol Rotunda. They're filing out as those.
Declares two, let alone one, national disaster emergencies. He said he's shutting down the southern border completely. He's designating the Mexican drug cartels, he said, as foreign terror organizations. So this was a speech replete with news for those of us who cover the news. And I just thought it was really, really interesting. He started this off by saying the scales of justice will be rebalanced. He brought that up multiple times, an allusion to the lawfare that has been waged against him in the form of these 4 criminal indictments he faced in 4 separate jurisdictions. He noted there the alleged weaponization of the Department of Justice. And then he made it an edict in that speech that the national government, the U.S. government, will only recognize 2 genders, male and female. Of course, transgender issues were front and center during the campaign election season here. So I just thought those were some of the notes that I jotted down during this speech. It was full of news, but it was also Trump making good or speech.
What he was sharing is news, but not surprising news. He has been, making these promises to the American public, time and time again. And so, something that I, wrote down myself was, quote, America's decline is over. And you're right. It did sound like one of those campaign rallies that he has held so many times, outlining the promises that he intends to keep for the American people. In fact, and we've been talking about this, is signing the executive orders in just a matter of hours, 200 right now or so. It's going to be a very busy day, but absolutely interesting to see all of that right here as we continue to take a live look here inside the Capitol Rotunda as people are now exiting. And so we also see the outside as well, as we do know that there is going to be a farewell ceremony for Biden and Harris, now the former president and former vice president. But, you were mentioning the social dynamics of.
My name is Valen, and I've
but there were moments when you saw that perhaps the political facade slip as President Trump was talking and sharing his thoughts on where America stands and where he wants to bring it to in the next 4 years. And, you know, you were mentioning the smirks that we were seeing. We were also, you know, noticing who is standing and who is not standing for the standing ovations as President Trump was outlining his vision for the next 4 years. So something, no doubt, that we are going to be discussing in the coming hours and in the coming days, as it does look like this is going to be at least the very start of the farewell ceremony right here. This is the departure ceremony for former President Biden and Vice President Harris. And so we're going to listen in and see what we can hear. And we are watching Marine One depart from the U.S. Capitol as former President Biden and former First Lady Jill Biden embarked on that next journey. And in fact, I did want to share this live look with you. This is Air Force One right here there on the tarmac. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump waving goodbye alongside Vice President Vance and Yusha Vance right there. And now a new era is ushered in to Capitol Hill, to Washington, D.C. This is a live look right here at Emancipation Hall, and this is where President Trump is expected to speak to this overflow crowd. Of course, hundreds of thousands of people coming to Washington, D.C. to witness history being made, the frigid temperatures forcing the plan to change. The swearing-in ceremony held inside the Capitol Rotunda, where just about 600 or so people were able to get inside. This is the overflow area inside the Capitol. This is Emancipation Hall. And the hundreds of people attending were able to witness the inauguration on a live video screen. We are expecting President Trump to address this crowd momentarily. As you can see, the podium with the presidential seal right there. And it's going to be a very busy day, Andrew, as after this, President Trump will be heading to the signing room for a ceremony there.
Yes, Stephanie, we're about to hear President Trump there. A massive overflow crowd. That's in the Capitol Visitors Center there. That's where you go in when you're getting a tour of the U.S. Capitol. And so you see some of these members that we have seen throughout the course of the day. And so this is the reality of why you could not have the inauguration outside. They're trying to jam pack as many people in as possible. You see there Speaker Johnson taking the dais. And I just wanted to note, too, that the Bidens and the Harrises there now departing Washington. The Bidens are headed to California for somewhat of a brief respite. And this is day one, hour one of the Trump administration, part two, if you will. And so he went over a number of executive actions he plans on taking. today. And so we could see him signing some of those executive orders a little bit later on today, having to do with the environment, with the border, with energy independence, and the like here.
And as you said, this is hour one. This is going to be a very busy day as we continue our extended coverage here on Live Now from Fox, going from event to event as we are anticipating President Trump to be speaking to this overflow crowd in Emancipation Hall. And I have to wonder, Andrew, the tone, of course, delivering the inaugural address and now speaking to the crowd that is here in that overflow room. I'm interested in seeing, his message, his tone. Is it going to be a little more conversational, more fiery? We're just waiting in anticipation. It does look like perhaps there might be someone coming up to the podium, so I did want to raise the audio.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here as witnesses to President Trump's triumphant return to the White House. Right now, already this morning, you can feel it around the country. We certainly felt it here in the city. America is coming together and roaring back again, and it begins today, as the president just told us. I know we'd all rather be gathered together on the National Mall with hundreds of thousands of our closest friends, but our disappointment is well overcome with our excitement for the future that we feel today. We have the chance to make the next 4 years the most consequential period in our nation's history. And as Speaker of the House, it is my great pleasure, my great honor, to introduce to you the man who will lead us to this new golden age, the decisive winner of the Electoral College and the popular vote, the 45th and the 47th, and the greatest president of our lifetimes, Donald J. Trump. Well, thank you all so much for being here. And was that a hell of a speech or what? That was, man. That was a good way to start it off. I didn't know exactly what the president would put in that speech, and I hoped to myself that he wasn't going to hold back, and sir, you didn't hold back. That was a hell of a way to start the next 4 years. But I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, and I know I speak for the president and for all of us, thank you for making this possible. We love you. We wouldn't be here without you, and we're going to make America great again together for the next 4 years. And the last thing I'll say is, having stood outside for about 5 minutes to wave goodbye to the Bidens, thank God we moved that thing indoors because it was a beautiful ceremony. It was cold as hell outside. So, sir, the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
No, he's right. I looked, I said, oh, look at this beautiful sunny day. And we blew it. We blew it. And then I went outside and we were freezing. You would have been very unhappy. The sun was very deceptive, I will tell you. It is cold out. And I'm sort of saying, that was so beautiful today. Maybe they should do it every 4 years. Does that make sense? I don't know. Because, the outdoor thing is really good, but it gets a little cold around this time of the year. Some people have noticed. And a lot of times they suffer through it. There was no suffering in that room. It was 72 degrees. It was perfect with the best acoustics I think I've ever heard in a room. This is not so bad either. But I just want to say, you're a younger, far more beautiful audience that I just spoke to. And I want to keep it off the record. I want to keep that off the record. Because I don't want to have all those big shots up there. I don't want to think you're more powerful than them. You look better than them, and I love you. Now, we just had a great time. We just had a great day. This was amazing. When you think we took a journey. I mentioned in the speech, a lot of people said that was not a journey that was possible, and it was indeed possible. I didn't really know too much about what they were saying when they said that, but a lot of people felt it, and we hooked up with JD very early. I watched JD over a period of time. I endorsed him in Ohio. He was a great senator, and very, very smart. The only one smarter than him was his wife. I would have chosen her, but somehow the line of succession didn't work that way, right? But now she's great and he's great. This is a great, beautiful couple, and unbelievable career. I just said to him, you are very upwardly mobile, because he hasn't been doing it that long, but he picked it up so quickly. Remember, the first week was a little bit like the fake news was hitting him really hard. And this may be tough, but after that, it was smooth sailing for him. He took on everybody. He took on the meanest. I don't want to use the word corrupt because we're into a new system, so let's wait till the corruption begins, because it will. But he took on some pretty mean people, and he handled it well. I want to also congratulate Mike Johnson for the job that he's doing. See, we gave him a majority of almost nothing. And then I said, to make it tougher on him, let me take 2 or 3 of the people, right? I said, he'll only have the stuff that we got for about 3 months. How are they doing, by the way? Are they, is that moving along? Totally. I said, do you mind if I take this one, that one, and a couple of others? He didn't mind. He could handle it. No, he's a man that's liked by everybody. I've never met a man like this. You've got how many is it, 219 or 220 or something? 220. And of the 220, 219 really like him. I noticed he got 1 negative vote once about 2 weeks ago. But I think even 220 like him, if you want to know the truth. And that's very unusual. I know a lot of nice guys in Congress, and they have 35 people that hate him. So if you have 35 people that hate you and you only have 1 or 2 or 3 votes, you'll have 5, I think. But that's going to be like, the good news is when we get to that 5 number, it's going to feel like a massive majority. You could be really nasty to a couple of them, at least. So it's going to feel like hitting your head on the wall and stopping. It feels so good to stop, but he's done a fantastic job. And Steve Scalise he's our hero, because, I was with him. You talk about being shot. I was with him. He got some bad ones, and his incredible wife, and she really loves him. You never know about that. I've been with other people that were doing poorly, and the wife is like looking at a watch. She can't get out of the hospital fast enough. How's he doing? I don't know. It's all right. That woman was a mess. She was crying and crying. No, they're going to take him. They're going to take him. I told Steve when he finally woke up, it was a while too. The doctor told me it was the most blood they've ever transfused in any patient. They've never done anything like it. And here he is, the picture of strength, right? And he's been a great friend with the family, because of the family. And what a job you did. It worked out pretty much better than we even thought, right? And I did have a couple of things, to say that were extremely controversial. And between JD and Melania and anybody else that had police, sir, It's such a beautiful, unifying speech. Please, sir, don't say these things. I said, I'm telling you, it's going to play great. He said, you're right. For this group of people, it's going to play great. You're the only words I heard by that dog, but we had some beauties, didn't we, Melania? She said, sir, calls me sir when she's angry. No, I'm only kidding. I better say I'm only kidding, or the press is going to pick that one up loud and say. No, but she said, no, I think it'll be terrible. It's such a nice speech. I think it's, it all depends on your delivery. How was the delivery? Was it good? But she said it's such a beautiful speech. You can't put things in there that you were going to put in. And I was going to talk about the J6 hostages, but you'll be happy because, it's action, not words that count. And you're going to see a lot of action on the J6 hostages. And I was going to talk about the things that Joe did.
Flexibility, customization, and great value for the money. Forza
all of the information, all of the hearings, practically not a thing left. They deleted all the information on Nancy Pelosi having turned down the offer of 10,000 soldiers. You wouldn't have needed 10,000. You could have had 500 and it would have stopped. Because we may have had 1 million people that day, the people that were there. You don't see any photographs, but we have a lot of great photos. But you don't see those photographs. They don't put them in. They show the people at the Capitol. But I was talking about that. I was going to talk about that. They said, please don't bring that up right now. You can bring it up tomorrow. I said, how about now in front of I'll bring it up right now. This little time delay is good because we're getting great reviews on the speech. Now watch. They'll take the speech and say, I didn't like it because he left there and he's talked to people. But we're giving you a little more information than we gave upstairs. But no, they pardoned a lot of people. They pardoned, before we even get to today, they pardoned, 33 murderers, absolute murderers, the worst murderers. When you get the death sentence in the United States, you have to be bad because they don't give it much. And he pardoned almost everybody having a death sentence. And if you went through the crimes that were committed, you wouldn't even believe them, the level of violence, the people that were killed, the innocence of people that were killed and children killed by these people. And he pardoned them for whatever reason. He spared them, but they didn't spare the people that they killed. And, who knows what happens in the future. It's one of the worst because a lot of times they let them out early after that. They say you're going to be in for life, but then all of a sudden they get let out for good behavior and then they go on a rampage. It's one of those little things, right? But I was going to talk about that. But I was really going to talk about the level of, what's going on. Why are we doing this? Why are we trying to help a guy like Millie? Why are we doing Millie? He was pardoned. What he said, terrible what he said. Why are we helping some of the people? Why are we helping Liz Cheney? I mean, Liz Cheney's a disaster. She's a crying lunatic and crying Adam Kinzinger. He's a super crying. I never saw the guy not crying. He's always crying. I looked at him. I remember years ago, he was actually on my side. And then one day, when you don't want to kill people in wars, they turn against you. Liz Cheney hated the concept of not going to war with everybody. Let's kill everybody. Let's spend a lot of money on military equipment, where her father works, right? And but what she did was incredible. Think of it. They destroyed and deleted all of that information that went on for almost 2 years against Trump. And the reason they did, because it was all false, like the person that said, I tried to strangle a Secret Service agent. That's one of the toughest human beings I think I've ever seen. I actually had a friend say, please don't change that, sir. You are the coolest sucker in history. Remember, she said, I put my hands around his neck because he wouldn't go to the Capitol. Made up fiction. And I was rebuffed. And the guy on the right is a massive weightlifter. probably stronger than me. Do you think he's stronger than me, honey? You know who I'm talking? Possibly stronger than me. Slightly younger than me, like, I won't say how many years because I don't want to talk about that, but a lot of years. But I had a friend that said, why are you disputing that story? That's the coolest story I've ever heard. That I would attack a karate champion, get slightly rebuffed, and then throw my arms around the guy with a neck about this big. Even though there are bars, there are bars, you can't really do that anyway. So I wanted to talk about that, but all of that stuff got deleted. And the reason it got deleted is that we're all caught in lies. Secret Service testified and they said it didn't happen. Actually, the two guys were very embarrassed. They're suffering because their friends are saying, did Trump really do that to you? But they gained a whole new respect for me. But it was just make-believe stuff. And there were a lot of make-believe stories made up. So rather than suffer the wrath, like the story with Nancy Pelosi, I offered her 10,000 soldiers. She knows it. She admitted it on tape. Couldn't do it, man. She's a videographer or whatever you call her, which I'm glad she is. So she can't be in good stead with Nancy. But Nancy said it was my responsibility as she's leaving the Capitol. She said it was her, and it was. She's in charge of security at the Capitol. But I offered them up to 10,000 soldiers, even more. One time I said more, as many as you need, but you needed 400 or 500. If 4 or 5, you need 10,000, that'll be more than the number of people there by a lot. But we offered her 10,000. Think of it, 10,000 soldiers. In other words, J6 wouldn't be J6. There would have been no J6. But she rebuffed them. She didn't like it. No, she didn't like it. Maybe she wanted that to happen. But she's guilty as hell. And now we would have to go through the process because they destroyed all evidence. They deleted everything. There's virtually nothing left. The other fake story and so many other fake stories. And many people came out on our side. And those people now, we've got to find them. There's nothing left. So that's a criminal offense. If that were a civil case, it would be a criminal offense. If that happened civilly where you did that, it would be a criminal offense. So I decided I'm not going to make this speech complicated. I'm going to make it beautiful. I'm going to make it a unifying speech. And then when they said we have a group of people that are serious Trump fans, I said, this is the time to tell those stories. Yeah. So, but seriously, I like to, I think it was a tremendous success. I think we're very lucky we put it inside because it is really cool. We just went to the helicopter out of respect to something that's taken place for a long time. I guess it's as old as helicopters. You used to get into a stagecoach, now you get into a helicopter. Times change. But it's pretty old custom. And it's a beautiful custom, actually. It's a beautiful custom. I wish we could have had a better relationship. I wish we could have had a better relationship between Republicans and Democrats. I was with Senator Schumer. I said, Chuck, I think it's time we all start getting along a little bit because it doesn't make sense. I mean, we literally never get a Democrat vote. They never get a Republican vote, almost. And although there is a bill coming up very shortly that we have a lot of Democrat votes, right? It's going to be a very beautiful bill. We're going to have a deciding, I would say, within a week or so, and it's going to be a very good bill. You all know what I'm talking about. So I just want to thank you all for being here. You have been our fans from day one. All these people all over. You've been our fans. This has been there's never been anything like it. There's never been anything like it. This has been a movement like no movement ever in history for probably any country, let alone this country. If somebody's running for president, and if they go out and they announce they're going to Arizona, they're going to Nevada, they're going to someplace, if you have 200 or 300 people, that would be standard. Ronald Reagan would go out. I mean, outside of the last couple of days where people get a little excited, but even then you have a couple of thousand people. But if you're going to go someplace, any one of the swing states, any one of the other states, I mean, How about the non-swing states? We won Alabama by 48 points. We won Tennessee by massive numbers. Wyoming, we won by
Landslide.
Nobody's ever seen that before.
We got the dub for sure.
And, places like California, we did great, but when they send out like 38 million ballots, and nobody knows where the hell they're sending them, and then they come pouring back the whole thing. They passed a law in California that if you work in an election bureau, and if you so much as ask for a voter ID, if you say, sir, ma'am, could I please look at your voter ID? They have the right to put you in jail. You're a criminal. Can you believe that? There's only one reason that happens. They want to cheat. So they had it where voter ID wasn't accepted. But now if you even ask for it, this is seriously a bill that was just signed, passed in their legislature, and it was signed. And I think when we get things cleaned up and we'll get back to a little bit of normalcy, I'm going to ask the speaker to really get involved, because I think we would have won the state of California, because, if you look at my numbers with Hispanic, we're 56%. And we won the Texas border that had never been won, as the governor said. He's doing a good job, the governor, by the way, of Texas. But as the governor said, it hasn't, oh, did I get lucky? Did I get lucky? Supposing I said, he's not here, but the governor of Texas has done a terrible job. Wow, look at you.
There he is.
You mean we couldn't get you up in the front row? I tell you. Supposing I said, JD, the governor of Texas, he's not doing his job. You heard what I said? See, I didn't know you were there. I said he's doing a great job. He's doing a phenomenal job. But now you're going to have a partner that's going to work with you, because you didn't have. Not only did he have a partner, he had people selling the wall. Right? We have a fence structure.
That was a straight battle.
The governor worked on with me. And I didn't love it, to be honest with you. I wanted a nice precast concrete, 40, 50 feet high, like a beautiful, could have been a T-shaped, Y-shaped. I love construction. I wanted that sucker to go up maybe 50, 60 feet. It would have looked beautiful, a nice Y shape. And they said, the problem is, sir, they climbed that like a rabbit. I said, what do you mean? No way. And they brought some of these guys out. They climbed it like. And the other thing is you hit it with acid and the thing will disintegrate. They have things for concrete. So they needed very hardened steel, very special steel. And then they needed 7,000-pound concrete inside that steel. And then they have a rebar that's the toughest steel made. Very hard to cut. So this is why very little is cut. I mean, it's right. And then they put an anti-climb panel on top. I hated it. I said, it's so unattractive. And I said, why would that work? I don't believe it works. And I went to watch the Border Patrol, gave a display. We had actually two sets of climbers. The guys that climb up walls with drugs on their back, I mean, they got like 60, 70 pounds of drug, and they go as fast as you can walk.
Real problem.
Or we have Mount Everest type climbers. And honestly, the drug guys were much better. The drug guys blew them away, right? But it's true, the anti-climb panel, they couldn't get around it. They just couldn't. You didn't have it. So sometimes you sacrifice beauty for efficiency. And we did. So we built this wall, and we built over 500 miles of wall. That's why we had such good numbers. The famous chart that came down, very thankfully, the chart that came down on my right, Governor. Had I not looked over there, I'm not speaking right now. You might be speaking here. You want to know the truth. You, JD, and got a lot of great people in this party, but I got very lucky, but we had the best numbers we've ever had. But I bought, what happens is when you fill it up, it's like water. You fill it up. Now we have 571 miles of wall. And they would always say, when we renovated a wall, so there'd be like a piece of plywood sitting there for 60 years, or a 2x4 sitting for 60 years on the ground and rotting. Because, and they say, you didn't build a new wall. And here we're building 50 feet up in the air, 30 feet sections, 50-foot sections, all steel, all concrete, all everything. And by the way, they don't even want me to say this, but what the hell, doesn't take that long time. They're all wired for all of the equipment. We put wires in everything so they can easily wire for all of the different types of equipment. And if there's a doubt, we have a wire. whenever we just look, you just find the wires all over the place up top, so we could just.
Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this whole inauguration ceremony. Was this what you expected? Was this something different? Really want to know for you guys. Let me know.
And the governor wanted to buy it, he tried to buy it, and they wouldn't sell it to him. He wanted to put it up himself. Could have been done in 3 or 4 weeks, 200 more miles, because when you do it now, they just keep going further out, further out, further out, getting around. So we did an extra 200 miles, and it was all bought. And they announced that they're not going to put it up. And that's when I realized they wanted open borders, and that's when I realized that people are going to come pouring through the wall like nobody's ever seen before, but you've seen it. A lot of you are here because of that. I made it my number one issue. They all said inflation was the number one issue. I said I disagree. I think people coming into our country from prisons and from mental institutions is a bigger issue for the people that I know. And I made it my number one. I talked about inflation too, but you know, how many times can you say that an apple has doubled in cost? I'd say it, and I hit it hard, but then I go back to the fact that we don't want criminals coming into our country. We don't want the jails of every country in the world virtually being deposited into the United States. And that man had to suffer with it. And he did an unbelievable job. I'll tell you, he was a very popular governor, but now he's like an unbeatable governor because of your border policies. He was fantastic. And he really was. Governor Abbott, he's a great man, great leader. And, but it did make him very more, you didn't do that for politics. You did it because you wanted to do the right thing. But I think it sure as hell worked for politics too. It's self-preservation, that's right. But yeah, because the people are demanding it. The people of Texas are demanding it. The people are demanding it all over. So anyway, so we built it, and they wouldn't let us use it. They wouldn't let the governor use it, and other governors, they wouldn't let us use it. But he was the leader of the pack and did a great job. And then we heard about a month ago that not only would they let us use it, they were selling it. They were going to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar. Now, 5 cents on the dollar then, but today it would cost more than twice as much to build because we bought it like 6 years ago. And it was just sitting on the ground, and that does not do well for the whole thing. But it was just sitting on the ground, and I heard about it, and I called the governor, and I called a lot of people, the attorney general. And here's the story. They were going to buy it, and these are great business people. They were going to buy it for 5 cents on the dollar or less, and they were calling us up. We'll sell it to you for 200 cents on the dollar. In other words, it will cost you twice as much, so it's 200 cents on the dollar. I said, can someone explain that to a judge? I mean, how corrupt is that? You'd think they'd say, maybe we'll sell it to you for 20 cents, 30 cents, and not 200 cents. So they were going to buy something for 5 cents, and they were going to sell it to us for a fortune. They're going to make it be, they'd have it down that in Fortune magazine, they put it as the deal of the year, okay? You buy that, but it was so corrupt, horrible. And when we told that to the administration, they didn't care. They just kept going forward. They couldn't care less. And they kept going forward. They knew that they were trying to sell it back to us. They would have sold it back to us. You would have ended up buying it. You would have paid probably 50, 60 cents. Who knows? But they would use it for scrap metal, but then they made a much better deal. They could just buy it and sell it to us for 15, 20 times what they paid. 20 times, think of it, like 20 times what they paid. And we wouldn't let it happen. The governor with his attorney general, Ken Paxton, they made a fantastic, good lawyer. He's pushing them pretty good by people, right? And you get that, you got a great attorney general that said, leave him alone, he was with me. But Ken and the governor went to court, and a judge actually became incensed and actually called for an investigation. How could a thing like this happen? So he stopped it. So we're waiting to put that wall up. And now that you have a new president, that wall will go up so fast. The governor will complain, sir.
Build the wall. Let's go.
This is Greg Abbott, sir. Please, the wall is going up too fast. Please don't do that. You know the story about winning? No, we're going to win too much. We're winning too much. Please, stop. People always love that one. We'll do this with the wall. Governor Abbott goes, "Sir, the wall is going up too fast. We can't take it. We just can't take it." Now, I think you'll be very happy if the wall goes up too fast, right? But we'll get that dude. We'll work with you on that. But it was a great decision by a great Texas judge, right? And it was beautiful, beautiful to watch. He stopped them right in their track. I mean, they were literally loading this stuff onto the trucks. It was terrible. Honestly, it was terrible. And he wouldn't take it. So I'm so glad I mentioned that they have a really good governor in Texas. And I swear I didn't know he was here. I swear to you, sounds like a setup. I didn't know you were in. Did I get lucky? I said the right thing. Because there would have been moments when I wasn't so happy with it, you know? But not too many, I can tell you that. So anyway, it's good to see you too, Governor. Great. But I just want to thank everybody. You've been good. I recognize so many of you. It's so crazy. But this has been a long journey. This was a journey that started in 2015, probably started 20 years before that. People used to say, "You're going to run for president."
This was a revolution.
Run. And I always said, no, I don't want. And then one day I said, let's give it a shot. And what I talked about then was the border too. I think it probably was the number one issue for me. Back in 2015, 2016, I talked about the border. And now I talked about the border, but this border is much worse. We fixed the border, it was totally fixed. There was nothing to talk about. 2020, by the way, that election was totally rigged, but that's okay.
Based. Let's go. Let's go.
You know, the only thing good about it, it showed how bad they are, showed how incompetent, and frankly, historically, this is a much bigger event. If that would have gone like it should have. And the bad thing about it is some bad things happen.
Yes.
There's a lot of people in our country that wouldn't be in our country right now. So, you know, that's the bad part. But I will say that it started in 2015, and right from the beginning, we went to the top. That day one, they announced Trump, and Trump went to number one and stayed there for the whole primary. And then we took on Hillary. Didn't look too happy today. We took on a very nice person, but we took on Hillary and we defeated Hillary.
Lock her up.
Then we did much better the second time in 2020. You know, we got millions more votes. We got millions, like 10, 12 million more votes than we did the first time. No president has ever gotten that many more votes. I got like 9 million more than anybody else had ever gotten. And they said we lost. And because of that, I said to my
It was
mom,
a stolen election.
and she said, "You want to do this again?" And had we lost, and had I thought we lost, I wouldn't do it again, because that's like the ultimate fall, right? But I knew how well we did, and this time we made it too big to rig. It was so big. They tried.
But they failed in every single county.
They tried to do it, and around 9:02 they gave up. Last time they did bad things, and this time they just said, yes. You know, I don't know if you saw, Mr. Speaker, in Washington, they had placards. They were all set to march. They thought it'd be closer. A gentleman asked me, a very respected gentleman asked me yesterday, how come the polls were so low? They showed you winning, but not in a landslide. I said, because people that are true Trumpers are so angry at the whole polling system and at the writers, the fake news, that they don't want to talk to anybody. So when you call somebody from Trump, who are you voting for? They say, it's none of your business. I'm not telling you. And so they would discard that one, and they didn't show that. And then when the election happened, you know, the vote came, and it was much different, much higher than we're going to win, but they thought, they couldn't believe the one man said, I mean, it was so much higher. We won all 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by millions of votes, which is hard for a Republican. I'll tell you who came through. The unions came through. The auto workers were great. The Teamsters were great. The firemen were great. I think almost every union was great. The only one that weren't great, although Sean was great, and the Teamsters, Sean O'Brien, the head of the Teamsters, was fantastic. But generally speaking, the head of the union was against Trump, but the union would be with us for like 80-85%. Look what we did with the auto workers in Michigan. Look what we did with the Teamsters. The Teamsters were unbelievable. They were a solid Democrat vote, and they voted for Trump. So we had a great experience. This has been, now we have to go to work and get it done because we have to do something that's going to be great. We're going to turn our country around, and we're going to turn it around fast. And I think this was a better speech than the one I made upstairs, okay? I think this was better, JD. I think this was much better.
He's cooking right now. I'll give him that.
Friend.
Bro, 78 years old.
Take care of yourself. You call me, we'll start working. You know what that means with him? He's going to be calling me tomorrow morning at about 6. That's it. How about next week? You call me, we're going to get it started real fast.
Oh, commercial break.
I want to thank everybody. And I have a first lady who's been incredible.
Melania.
I shouldn't say this. I'm going to get hell when I say this, but
Oh boy.
her feet are absolutely aching. You know, those heels. And we thought we were leaving. We were going home. Sir, would you be able to go down and say hello to some of your other fans that are here? I said, oh, I didn't know that. Wow. Did you get to see pretty clearly the picture, I hope? Good. That's good. But because you wouldn't want to make the sex speech again, right? But she said, darling, I love you so much, but my feet are killing me. I said, honey, let me just see how far it is. I asked the person. Oh, not that long, maybe 400 or 500 yards. That's 5-foot ball fields. I said, can you make it? She said, we're going to make it no matter what. We're going to make it because we have to get right? And then we went out to the helicopter just prior to this and said goodbye. And we said, custom, and the wind is blowing like crazy. And with the hat that she's wearing, she almost blew away. We almost lost her. She was being elevated off the ground. She almost blew away. Now, so we all appreciate it because you've been a great first lady, a beautiful and a great first lady, and they love our first lady. You know, JD, whenever I make a speech, I see hundreds of times, we love our first lady, and they do, and they should. She's great. So I just want to thank you very much. I just want to thank everybody, and I felt that. I said to JD, should we give him the A treatment, the B treatment, the C, the D, or the F? You know what the F is? Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye. I gave you the A+ treatment. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Governor. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
That was a pretty solid speech. I'll give Trump that. I mean, he really came out of the gates looking pretty solid. He addressed some pretty important issues, if you think about it. I think it's a good sign for the J6 political prisoners. I think they're going to get pardoned, most of them at least. And I like how he takes shots at Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. It's basically saying that they're a illegitimate government, which is true. I mean, they've done so many things that should bar them from the ability to be legitimate. So this was a good speech. Again, he went on. And just imagine if Joe Biden won this election. Just imagine if he ran and he was the second-term president here. He would have probably spoke for maybe 5 minutes, if that, because he can't carry on a conversation. And those of you Democrats that are listening, it's pretty clear why Trump won this. And would it even take Trump to win this election? I don't even think so, because the Democrats were so ill-prepared. You throw someone in like Biden, didn't work. You throw Harris in last minute, thinking that something's going to change, and that hurt him even worse. So this is a clear sign that, democracy, as they say, it doesn't work. A constitutional republic is what the American people want, and it's what we're going to get. We're going to protect the First Amendment, as Trump said. We're going to ban the whole conversation with internet censorship, which is a complete joke. We have to get rid of this, internet censorship of our First Amendment, because the American people on all platforms deserve really deserve the opportunity to speak to their volumes. And what we've seen over the past, 3-4 years, Trump himself was banned. And my criticism of this is, why was Mark Zuckerberg with the cabinet selections? I mean, it's pretty crazy that someone like Zuckerberg gets the throne when he censored President Trump for 2 years, banned his account on Instagram and Facebook. But yet we're going to act like this guy has some morality. He's someone that deserves any seat at the table. I think the only thing that Zuckerberg deserves is jail. I mean, think about Zuckerberg, for instance. If you want to talk about COVID and how we thought that RFK was such an important cabinet selection here. Well, you realize what happened over the past couple of years. I mean, we literally had individuals who suppressed information on COVID, like Zuckerberg, that led to the death and, not having the right information about what's going on in the world because Zuckerberg thought it was in his best interest and the deep state or Biden's administration's best interest to suppress that information, which, like I said, led to the deaths of hundreds and thousands and millions of people because they didn't have the access to the right information. So that's very important here. And I think we all should be critical of that. I mean, the dude literally suppressed information from myself, from anyone who had any opposition to Black Lives Matter, COVID, Ukraine, Israel. These things are and currently are suppressed on the platform. So that's my one criticism here. I think there's a lot of good things out of this. Like I said, Trump had an excellent speech. It was a total of probably 30 minutes out of this last segment here. But there's a lot of good signs. I mean, he still has his charisma. He still acts as if he can govern the country. And it was a very solid speech overall. I think we can definitely say that we're better off with Trump than Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or anything the Democratic Party could have offered up. These next 4 years, in my opinion, are about stability. They're about deporting the illegal immigrants that have taken over this country unlawfully and unconstitutionally. They need to be deported. And this whole ideology of, colorblind meritocracy, which is another point I'll be critical of, because Trump said that in 2016, we're going to enforce, this whole, we're going to basically deport these illegal immigrants. We're not going to have this, system set up to where we're going to allow these immigrants to come in. And keep in mind, his policy, his number one issue was deporting these illegal immigrants. It was mass deportations. It was the southern border problem, which he is supposed to be ordering an executive order of state of emergency at the southern border today because of this obvious issue. So when he starts talking about H-1B visas and legal immigration and siding with Elon Musk and Vivek and, Silicon Valley's interests, it starts to be questionable. And when he mentioned colorblind meritocracy, meaning we're going to be a nation of colorblind meritocracy, and it's going to be all about what you offer to the table. I don't think that's something that Trump himself orchestrated in his initial speech. I'm pretty confident that's something that he was told to say. I believe that Silicon Valley, whoever that is, Peter Thiel, Curtis Yarvin, maybe Bill Ackman, Elon Musk himself, one of these guys did order Trump to say this colorblind meritocracy speech. Because I believe that with this whole massive win and the whole, Silicon Valley takeover, you could say, there are going to be repercussions where we have to compromise on our immigration stance. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to deport these people. I do believe that there is a plan behind this, but there are limitations to that. Limitations such as our current border situation where we have, 20 to 60 million illegals who have come to our country in the past 4 years. That's a problem. Like I said, will they all be deported? I don't think so. I think a large portion will, the 100,000 plus violent criminals in this country. But everybody else, that's up for determination. If you remember Trump's interview with Kristen Welker about a month ago, he said that Republicans support dreamers and they have high hopes for them in general. He says that dreamers can actually be very successful in most cases in America, which I actually disagree with. I think that we need to focus on bringing back American jobs, American independence, American sovereignty, and allowing the average man that is a citizen and generations of heritage in this country to get ahead on merit and not have the challenges of these legal immigrants brought over for the sole intent of working them even more and getting less out of them. What you could see is incentivized by these businessmen in Silicon Valley: Elon Musk, Vivek, Bill Ackman, Curtis Yarvin, Peter Thiel. These guys are solely incentivized by this because they know that there is a lot to gain from this. And I can't blame them. I think this is where we need to incentivize a better policy so we can have balance within our culture, our traditions, and immigration. As you guys know, I'm very critical of this current immigration policy where they think that these Indians, which is directly towards the country of India, will replace our jobs in America. I think that the best of the best should come to our country, but that doesn't mean importing all these guys for $30,000 a year to become janitors and custodians and the low-level jobs that Americans can already do at a lower cost and more hours. That is what they want to do here. It's purely incentivized by the wealth and nothing to do with the culture. And I think the best thing that we can do about this is, first of all, just prioritize illegal immigration. We have to deport these 20 to 60 million immigrants that came here under Joe Biden. The whole concept of legal immigration shouldn't even be a discussion until that has been carried out. Now, I do like the plans put into place. I think that the emergency at the southern border is completely necessary and has to happen on day one. And if it doesn't, I think we all know what exactly is the case here. But again, we have a long day ahead of us here. We're going to be streaming most of the day. We're going to have the Capital One Arena ceremony in which President Trump will be signing many executive orders. We've heard rumors of what that could be. Some have said that could be the January 6th protesters. It also could be the MLK and JFK files, in which we haven't gotten the full information on. And we last got files from 2017 in his first term. So the whole JFK situation, I'll get into real quick. There's at least a solid, probably thousands of papers that haven't been released, unclassified documents that the people haven't even seen because they believe that it's worth, protecting. Trump says he'll release this. I do believe that the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence, is going to have a big part in this, the JFK assassination and MLK assassinations. But we'll have to see what gets released. We're going to do a whole probably 2 to 3 hour stream on that one. That's a really interesting topic, the JFK and MLK assassinations. So we'll do a future stream on that when it gets released. But yeah, we have a big day ahead of us here. We have a lot of coverage here. We're currently seeing, it looks like Joe Biden giving an address, probably one of his last here. And like I said, this is a historic day in America. I think we have a lot ahead here. We have a lot of good things in store. You think about the golden age in which Trump said. I think that's going to bring a lot of things here. I think once we actually deport these illegal immigrants, we sustain our economy by bringing jobs back to America. We actually bring back these pipelines and start, having natural oil again. We start actually, opening up these pipelines so we can have real natural access to these commodities that Americans should have in the first place. And Joe Biden shutting down the Keystone Pipeline and making it to where we can't drill to have access to these natural resources is very detrimental to our economy, and probably the reason why our gas prices are so high. He wants to say it's all because of Ukraine and Russia. No, this is because our very domestic products are not being utilized to the point that they should be. That's exactly the reason why. And I'm very confident that Trump on day one will reverse that. We're going to start drilling. We're going to start having American independence in our country, which we should have in the first place. So I really think that we're going to do a lot of good things here. And a conversation that really wasn't mentioned a whole lot here is the whole crypto and AI position here. I think that's a big and incremental part of this next administration. We're now going to have a crypto czar and an AI czar. David Sachs is the AI czar, I believe, and the crypto czar is an individual who is also affiliated with him. But this is pretty big because we're actually going to see some real oversight in cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence, which is really prevalent in these next couple of years. You know, we're seeing content creators, live streamers, really every company utilize artificial intelligence, and even the prospect of cryptocurrency in the past couple of years. Even last night, Melania, Trump's wife, dropped her own cryptocurrency. I mean, obviously it got a lot of backlash, but Trump himself launched his own cryptocurrency, which has done very well. It started at like $7 and reached an all-time high of 70 within 2 or 3 days. Made a lot of people a lot of money. I'll say that. But that's pretty big, though. I mean, we have the ability to tokenize things that are worth something, that have intrinsic value. When you tokenize something like Trump, of course you're going to get billions of dollars. Of course he's going to make 58 billion, be one of the top 50 in the market cap. And also having, you know, David Sachs, the crypto czar, look over this. I firmly believe we're going to see Bitcoin at a $1 million total before Trump leaves office. I think it's inevitable. I mean, hitting an all-time high and really flourishing as it is now, it's a good sign. Just this morning, Bitcoin hit a new all-time high of $111,000. Guys, I was called a tinfoil hat lunatic about 3 years ago because I said Bitcoin would hit $100,000. You know, people said it was a scam. Oh, this is a Ponzi scheme. It's owned by somebody else. It's controlled by Russia, China. I didn't fall for that. It's a psyop. Bitcoin is anonymous. It's decentralized. It's open source. It's controlled by nobody but the person who created the software in the first place to go dark and enable the ability to go past, you know, intermediaries, banks, governments. It's very innovative. And Trump understands that. He said this at Lance. He attended the Bitcoin conference. Oh, there's Don Jr., by the way. But this is pretty big. I mean, we actually have a firm stability in our country when it comes to economic sovereignty, cryptocurrency, and it really comes to the dollar itself, because that's something I mentioned in one of my articles. I think that we will face an issue of the BRICS currency and maybe multipolarity and de-dollarization if these countries like China, Russia, India, Brazil, if they choose to proceed with this BRICS currency, it could be a thorn in the neck to Americans who are really trying to innovate their companies and businesses with the dollar. Now, what we could do is, my opinion, end the Federal Reserve. We end the Fed. We have freedom within our currency. We have currency that obtains value. But if we don't do that, we're just going to rely on what our $40 trillion debt. We're just going to keep printing and printing and printing until we get ourselves to safety. It's clearly not working. And as you guys know, part of the compromise with the 116, or basically it was 116 bill page, is that we're going to extend the national debt to 2027. To me, that could be good if these guys have a great plan put into place, but if they don't, you know, I mean, it really, that's detrimental to our economy. It's very dangerous. So we'll have to see what happens this afternoon. I do think this is a good day, and we've got a lot of things in store here. I believe there's going to be a big address today at the Capital One Arena in the next hour. So we're going to do full coverage on that. But temporarily, we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be back in the next 10 minutes to cover the rest of this very exciting coverage. So we'll see you then.
For the joint congressional issue here on the inaugural ceremonies. So again, we are waiting for this ceremony to begin with the inaugural luncheon. The theme of the 2025 inauguration is our enduring democracy, a constitutional promise. Okay, here we go. And now we will be seeing the first executive orders being signed right now. And we saw this back in 2017 as well, and we are seeing it now, so let's listen in.
More to them, how ridiculous reason. My son is a little deceptive. So what would you like us to do?
Sign your orders.
Official documents. Okay, I assume they're gonna be happy with these documents. Yeah, they're just
So the first is 22 cabinet and cabinet level appointments for your signature.
Okay.
The next one will be, excuse me. Next one will be 47. Thank you, sir. You have 31 acting designations and appointments that effectively take control of the government. Let's do that. That's the board. We have 15 commission chairman and acting chairman appointments. Commission chairman and acting chairman.
He was number one at Harvard House. You know,
Good counsel.
there's something.
Thank you, sir. Lastly, we have a proclamation order on all future inauguration days, including this inauguration day, the flag shall be flown at full mast. Very important.
It was a beautiful place to have inaugurations in the sound, so the temperature was 72 degrees. But the sound was there's something.
Good acoustics. Yes.
All right. Thank you. You're the one. Yeah, very much.
Thank you so much, sir. You have a good meeting.
Very nice. Very nice. Beautiful custom.
Mr. President.
And that goes back as long as I was. Before that, it was a stagecoach. It was a beautiful. Check.
Touchdown!
You probably know this script.
Next up is the luncheon right here. He was asked one question, President Trump, where a media member did ask about Joe Biden pardoning members of his family right